Imagine this. You've spent months planning your dream cruise, saved up thousands of dollars, packed your bags, and finally stepped on board. You're ready for sunshine, beaches, unlimited food, and the adventure of a lifetime. But what if I told you that your vacation could end before it even begins? Yes, you can actually be kicked off a cruise ship, sometimes without a refund, and sometimes without even being allowed back on at the next port. Cruise lines have strict rules, and breaking them can mean instant removal. The worst part, many passengers don't even realize they're making mistakes until it's too late. From sneaking the wrong items on board to reckless behavior, to ignoring health and safety rules, the consequences can be severe. In this video, I'll reveal 7 shocking cruise mistakes that can get you kicked off the ship. Pay attention, because even one slip could ruin your dream vacation. One of the fastest ways to get kicked off a cruise ship is by trying to sneak alcohol, or, even worse, drugs on board. Many new cruisers assume it's no big deal to hide a few bottles in their luggage, but cruise lines take this very seriously. Security teams scan every bag before it gets loaded onto the ship, and they're trained to detect hidden bottles, flasks, or suspicious items. If you're caught with alcohol, the consequences can range from having it confiscated to being denied boarding entirely. And if it's drugs, that's a whole different level. Cruise lines have zero tolerance. Not only can you be removed from the ship immediately, but you could also face fines, a permanent ban, and in some cases, even local law enforcement depending on the port you're in. There have been stories of passengers who thought they were being clever by hiding liquor in mouthwash bottles or sneaking in marijuana edibles. What happened? They were escorted off before the ship even left the port, vacation ruined, money lost. The truth is, cruise ships already sell alcohol legally on board, and they make a big portion of their profit from it. That's why they crack down so hard. If you want a smooth vacation, don't risk it. Play by the rules. Cruise ships are designed to be relaxing, family-friendly environments, which is why they have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to violence or aggressive behavior. If you think shouting at a fellow passenger, pushing in line, or starting a fight will just earn you a warning, think again. It can actually get you kicked off the ship. Even something as small as yelling at crew members or being disruptive in public areas can be taken very seriously. The cruise staff is trained to de-escalate situations quickly, but if you become a danger to others or disturb the peace, security won't hesitate to step in. There have been real-life cases where groups of passengers got into fights at the bar or pool deck. The result? They weren't allowed to continue the cruise. Instead, they were escorted off at the next port, sometimes in the middle of the night, and left to figure out how to get home on their own. Remember, you're not just representing yourself on board. You're sharing a floating city with thousands of other travelers. Losing your temper can cost you thousands of dollars and the vacation you've been dreaming of. On a cruise ship, the crew isn't just there to serve drinks or clean cabins. They are responsible for the safety of thousands of passengers. That's why one of the biggest mistakes you can make is disrespecting crew members or ignoring safety rules. When you step on board, the captain and crew have full authority, and their instructions are considered law at sea. This is especially true during the mandatory muster drill, the safety briefing that shows you what to do in an emergency. Skipping the drill, arriving late, or refusing to follow instructions may seem harmless, but it's taken very seriously. Beyond the drill, safety orders like wearing life jackets, staying out of restricted areas, or following emergency announcements are non-negotiable. Ignoring them isn't just reckless, it can endanger lives. That's why passengers who refuse to comply are often warned once, and if they continue, they may be removed at the next port. There have been cases of guests who thought safety rules were optional, only to be escorted off the ship for putting others at risk. At sea, safety always comes first, and cruise lines won't gamble with it. Many passengers are surprised to learn that cruise ships have a long list of restricted items that you cannot bring on board. It's not just weapons or illegal items. Even everyday things like irons, kettles, extension cords, or candles are banned. Why? Because on a ship at sea, these items can be extremely dangerous. For example, candles or heating coils may seem harmless, but they pose a major fire hazard. A small flame in the middle of the ocean can quickly turn into a life-threatening emergency. Similarly, sharp weapons, pepper spray, or even certain sporting equipment are strictly prohibited for obvious safety reasons. Cruise lines scan all luggage and hand-carry items during embarkation. If you're caught with a restricted item, it will be confiscated immediately. In most cases, you'll get it back at the end of the cruise, but if the item is particularly dangerous, like a firearm, drugs, or explosives, you could be denied boarding altogether or even handed over to local authorities. Passengers have been removed for trying to sneak in weapons or other prohibited gear. The lesson is simple. Don't pack anything that could cause harm or risk. Cruise ships are strict for a reason. Safety comes before convenience. One of the most dangerous mistakes passengers make at sea is reckless balcony or deck behavior. Cruise ships are built with strong railings and safety measures, but accidents happen when guests ignore the rules. Dangerous activities like climbing over railings, sitting on balcony edges, or attempting daring selfies have led to tragic overboard incidents. Even something as simple as leaning too far for a photo can end in disaster. Throwing objects overboard is also strictly forbidden. A bottle, plate, or even a cigarette tossed into the ocean doesn't just harm the environment. It can also injure passengers on lower decks or crew working outside. Cruise lines consider these actions reckless and dangerous to both people and marine life. Because of the risks, cruise companies have a zero-tolerance policy. Guests caught engaging in this kind of behavior are often removed from the ship at the next port, with no refund. Some cases have even made international headlines, where videos of passengers dangling from balconies or jumping overboard went viral, and the consequences were swift: permanent bans from the cruise line. The bottom line: balconies are for relaxation, not stunts. Respect the rules, and you'll stay safe. While most cruise passengers are simply looking for fun and relaxation, some try to cheat the system through fraudulent activities. This includes using fake identification documents, traveling under a false name, or booking a cruise with stolen credit cards. Some passengers even attempt to manipulate loyalty programs or onboard accounts using dishonest tricks. Cruise lines take these offenses very seriously because they operate under international maritime law. They are in constant cooperation with port authorities, customs officials, and even the FBI in certain cases. If you're caught attempting fraud, you won't just be denied access to the ship. You could be detained, questioned, and handed over to law enforcement in the next port. The consequences are severe: immediate disembarkation, permanent bans from the cruise line, and in many cases, criminal charges that can follow you for years. What might seem like a small trick to save money can instead lead to fines, jail time, or even a ruined travel record. On a cruise, honesty is always the best policy. Fraud will get you caught and kicked off fast. Cruise ships are often described as floating cities, but that also means they're vulnerable to fast-spreading illnesses like norovirus, influenza, or COVID-19. To protect everyone on board, cruise lines have strict health and quarantine rules. Passengers are expected to report symptoms honestly during pre-boarding health screenings and throughout the voyage. However, some travelers try to hide their sickness to avoid missing the trip. Others refuse to follow quarantine orders once symptoms appear. This kind of dishonesty puts thousands of passengers and crew members at risk. Cruise lines treat it as a serious offense. If you lie about your condition, skip medical checks, or break quarantine protocols, you can be immediately removed from the ship at the next port. The reasoning is simple. One sick passenger can quickly turn into a ship-wide outbreak, forcing the entire vessel into lockdown or even cutting the trip short. Being honest about your health not only protects you, but also ensures a safer and more enjoyable cruise for everyone. On the high seas, public health comes first, and breaking that rule can get you disembarked instantly. So, let's quickly recap the 7 cruise mistakes that could get you kicked off the ship. Sneaking alcohol or drugs. Security will catch you, and you'll be removed. Violence or aggressive behavior. Zero tolerance means you'll be dropped at the next port. Disrespecting crew or ignoring safety rules. Safety comes first, always. Smuggling restricted items. Weapons, irons, or candles can all get you disembarked. Reckless balcony or overboard behavior. One stunt could end your entire trip. Fraudulent activities. Fake IDs or stolen credit cards lead to permanent bans. Ignoring health or quarantine rules. Lying about illness risks everyone's safety. Your dream cruise can end in minutes if you make even one of these mistakes. What's meant to be a relaxing vacation can instantly turn into an expensive nightmare. So travel smart, follow the rules, and make memories that last for the right reasons. Backhand index pointing right if you found this video helpful. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more cruise reviews.